We're going to be moving now to going to a deeper dive on the issue with plastic bags. And our first speaker today is Felicia Madsen from Save the Bay, who's going to be discussing how to advocate for a plastic bag ban ordinance. Felicia is the Chief Strategy Officer for Save the Bay, and she has 10 years of experience working on issue advocacy. Felicia developed Save the Bay's policy priorities and issue campaigns since 2002. Before returning to California, she served as the Director of Outreach for the U.S. Senate Budget Committee, organizing broad support among constituencies and organizations for federal budget priorities. Prior to her work in Congress, Felicia served as the Washington, D.C. Director of a Chicago-based public affairs firm, managing advocacy campaigns on a wide range of issues, including gun control, education, healthcare, and juvenile justice. All the easy ones, right? She earned a BA in human biology from Stanford University, and we are so pleased to have her speak. Welcome, Felicia.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. We appreciate it. So I want to kind of take the lead from Phil, wherever Phil is, and be positive. Save the Bay started working very specifically on plastic bag ordinances and styrofoam bans about 2 years ago, right when San Jose started to have very public meetings and discussions about a potential plastic bag ban. And over that time, Save the Bay has worked with about 25% of the 101 cities and 9 counties around the Bay Area. And really what that says to us is that at the local level, you all and your staff that didn't come today and your councils and your residents are all becoming so much more aware of the impact that plastics has on San Francisco Bay and on the waterways and our ocean and coastal resources. So thank you, and that's really a positive thing that we can all be happy with together. So today I was asked not just to talk to you about how you can advocate for a plastic bag ban, but really how you can work with nonprofits and specifically Save the Bay to move your policies forward. So when I heard the gentleman here from Felicia, we're going to use him as an example all day long. So you can't leave early. You can't leave early. When I heard that he, had his moment at his meeting, I was in the back corner just dying, because that is exactly the moment that Save the Bay or Clean Water Action or Californians Against Waste or many of the other nonprofits that we live for, and that's why we're here, is to help you and really to move forward our missions of protecting our waterways. So I just wanted to give you just a very brief overview of Save the Bay. We are 50 years old. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, and we're going to have a lot of public events, so we hope that you all can participate with us. And in 1961, 3 ladies from the Berkeley area, the East Bay, came together because they were just appalled by the filling in of San Francisco Bay. You all probably know the bay is a third smaller because of fill and diking and damming. And the ladies from their hills, their Berkeley hills, they could see the actual filling in of the bay, and they were upset. So they called a meeting of some of the leading conservationists at the time, that's what they called themselves, not environmentalists, and said, who's really going to stop San Francisco Bay from being destroyed? And all of them were too busy with their own priorities. I think we all know that feeling, and said a new organization has to be formed, and you all should do that. And so they did, and they really didn't understand the interests that they were going to be fighting. And the first big battle that they fought was to stop the city of Berkeley, who wanted to double the size of their city by filling in a very large part of their bay shoreline. And they won that. And then in 1965, they were able to get a moratorium to stop bay fill, and in 1969 they formed the Bay Conservation and Development Commission, which is the nation's first coastal zone management agency. And you can see here, this is kind of one of our iconic illustrations. This map saying bay or river was a map that the Army Corps of Engineers had published in the Oakland Tribune in 1959, saying that much about, I think it was over 60% of the bay, the shallow parts of the bay could be filled in to create more land so that we, as an area, could move forward with progress. And so there was a lot of concern at that time. So to jump ahead 50 years, we, Save the Bay, over many decades, has worked on many different issues. And one of our current issues that's part of our strategic plan that we have decided to put significant resources in is to improve bay water quality, and in particular, to reduce the amount of trash and plastic debris that's in the bay. So our goal as an organization, our bold goal, is zero trash discharge from stormwater by 2022. And you all are familiar with that, as it's the far-reaching goal for trash reduction in the municipal regional permit. We created the Clean Bay Project as a campaign a few years ago to address trash and plastic debris pollution. And the tactics that we're focused on now are plastic bag ban and fee ordinances and polystyrene ban ordinances. So what really is the role of Save the Bay and other nonprofit organizations? Well, the main one is that we can really do and say many things that you all cannot say, that you probably would all maybe be frowned upon or really have to play kind of that straight policy role. And Save the Bay can really be an advocate and really push back when, for example, the American Chemistry Council comes to a meeting and is using misleading statistics or quoting studies that the industry itself paid for. What I think is really interesting about our role, and especially around a project like Clean Bay Project, where we really are working with cities and county staff primarily, is that although we are really here to help you, and we want to be there because if your city is moving forward with one of these ordinances, we're really all working towards the same goal. But oftentimes, Save the Bay's mission is to protect and restore San Francisco Bay. And so sometimes that can be kind of a push and pull relationship where you may have a very good ordinance, but maybe Save the Bay wants to see it, one aspect broadened. Or perhaps you might feel it might be an unfair burden to have the municipal regional permit regulations put down at the local level, but Save the Bay might be advocating for them. So sometimes there would be times that we would work with you and it could be a push and pull. But for the most part, and I think this was really exemplified by our work with San Jose around the bag ban ordinance, was that 99% of the time we worked very well together, and look what happened in December. So we can really create a great partnership. So there are a whole host of tools that Save the Bay brings to these kinds of efforts that I just want to list out those tools today so that you can have these in the back of your mind and know that you can call on us or Clean Water Action or Surfrider, because many of us use some of these different tactics over time to eventually get these ordinances passed. So the first tool, which is really the most basic, is that we provide information for decision makers and really for you that you can use to provide to your bosses, your councils, your city attorneys, whoever it may be. And we have on our website a section where you can download case studies and fact sheets and statistics. We have myth and fact sheets, so ACC says this is really the fact. Presentations, I believe that these presentations will be uploaded to our website and this page. So this is really a great first step, and I know that there's a lot of organizations and state resources that Leslie mentioned have resources that you can download. Save the Bay uses this information too, and a really great example is in San Jose about 2 years ago when this started to get very public. most of the city council members had not heard from anybody but the ACC. So we did an initial round where we went in with information that you can now find on this website and did briefing packets for every council member. And in San Jose, that's a lot. That's 10 offices. And I believe 9 of them accepted, took our invitation to meet with them. And they all had never heard the true facts and were using facts that they had heard from the opposition. And when we left, what we found out later was that quite a few offices were inspired by that meeting because they were very confused. They were hearing this from the ACC, they were hearing this from Save the Bay. And what it really did for staff was it inspired a few of them to really kind of do their own independent fact-checking to find out really what was the truth. And in the end, we were able to gain quite a bit of credibility by going in with the truth, saying what we didn't know, saying what we did know, so that as that campaign went on for another 2 years, when Save the Bay came back in with information or suggestions or amendments or whatever it might be, we were a trusted source because we had come in from day one with facts. So facts are very powerful, as you all know. The second thing that we have to offer is that we participate in the process. Like I said, we meet with staff and with elected officials. We will attend public hearings and give public comment. We also have attended many different kinds of public meetings and stakeholder meetings. San Jose had a very deliberate stakeholder outreach process, which I'm sure Emmy will talk about. And we tried to make sure that one of our staff was either on the call or in the room if possible, because the ACC would use that as a time to demand and suggest stall tactics and delay any kind of action that was going to move forward. And it was really helpful. There were a lot of interested community members who really, wanted to make sure the process was good and was really there to participate with a lot of integrity. But unless there was kind of this counter voice to say, well, we already did that, or we already know that's not true, or let's look at this study instead, it was really hard for staff to play that kind of role. So one of the things that Save the Bay puts a lot of resources in is community outreach. And community outreach is such a broad term, so I'm just going to go through a few different examples of what we do to make sure that residents and community organizations and other businesses and supportive organizations, how they can actually get involved and understand what's going on. So one thing that we do a lot of is media outreach. This is a picture of the press conference on the steps of City Hall in Oakland in January 2008. And this was really, I think, Jack, you were there. Are you in that picture? You might be right in the back behind the podium. This was right before they were still kind of seeing if the ACC, the Save the Plastic Bag Coalition was going to sue for the EIR. This is kind of when all of that started to happen. And we participated in that press conference. And we also did a press conference in San Jose right before a committee vote at the recycling center, and brought media down to show how plastic bags jams the recycling machinery, and to talk to some of the workers. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with the media. And the best reason to do that is that when you get a story in the paper or on a popular blog, it really opens the door to so many more thousands of people in that city and across the Bay Area to really understand what the issue is from a less slanted point of view than maybe they had heard before. So we have worked with supporters, Save the Bay members, to generate letters to the editors. We've reached out to editorial boards, particularly in the South Bay. And then, like I said, we hold different press events to generate positive media. We have made quite an effort to build a coalition for these types of proposals beyond just the environmental organizations. We're really lucky that our environmental community in the Bay Area is so strong and is so active. But oftentimes in cities, other than Palo Alto or San Francisco or Oakland, we need to make sure that there are a broader set of folks who are in support of these kinds of policies. So some of the things that we've tried to do is to really target our outreach based on kind of a vote count. What do we need to get this ordinance passed? So in San Jose, for example, some of our environmental colleagues and Save the Bay staff went down to the Willow Glen Business District. And you might think, if you know the Willow Glen Business District, you might think, well, that's kind of an obvious place. They're going to support plastic bags there if they're going to support it anywhere in San Jose. But what we wanted to do was to get small businesses to sign the letter during that day. It was kind of a walk and talk in all of the shops. We got about 10 businesses that day to sign on, and the reason that we chose this district was because it's in District 6, and we were unsure what District 6 council members' vote was going to be. In the end, he did vote for the ban, but it was really important to us to be able to go into his office with his staff and to show that there was specific and strong support in his district. We did early and often outreach to the San Jose Silicon Valley Chamber of Commerce. We wanted to make sure that we at least kept them neutral, and we weren't sure where they stood. They had really open-minded staff. They were getting a lot of pressure from the ACC, but we were really able to go in there and create a relationship with their point person. We were invited to do a point-counterpoint newsletter article up against the ACC. We were invited to debate the ACC at the Coalition of Santa Clara County Chambers of Commerce, which wasn't the most it wasn't a usual kind of audience that Save the Bay gets invited to all the time. So it was really great to do that kind of outreach and to create that kind of relationship. And in the end, the chamber didn't take a position, and I think that was just very helpful and indicative of what their membership was, which was some people were for a ban and saw that as a positive thing for the city, and some of their members really didn't want the ban. Of course, we work with our environmental colleagues and other community groups. There were often times during this 2-year process with San Jose where staff asked us to participate in a forum. And I think it was really important that any of you don't necessarily have to put yourselves in a position to debate the ACC. I think you all play a very different role where you want to bring your facts to the table, be able to provide information to your councils and the other decision makers, but to get kind of in that tit for tat with the opposition is really probably not the best use of your time. And I think that San Jose staff did a really good job of identifying the times where maybe it wasn't the most comfortable or the most appropriate, and would ask Save the Bay or other people to come into a debate situation. We use online organizing and social media. We have a very active following. We had a lot of people who were commenting and following us as we Facebooked and tweeted from the San Jose City Council the day of the vote, and this energizes people and gets them excited if they don't live in San Jose for when a ban comes to their own town. And then oftentimes what we do is we take all of these tools and we put them together and create PR campaigns or other kinds of advocacy campaigns, and we try to time those around important decision-making times. So the Bay versus the Bag, we put this campaign together almost 2 years ago where we contracted with Free Range, which is a nationally recognized new media firm that has won many awards. They put together a video for us. We did a microsite. We did advocacy with elected officials. We got thousands of new people who came to Save the Bay. We got over 100 media articles. We put this up on the Huffington Post. Stephen Joseph was threatening to sue us unless we took it down. So it was a lot of fun for us because we were out there, and a few weeks later, the San Jose voted out of committee to send this to the full council, and it really was a big switch from the ACC really kind of swaying the committee one way, and then we were able to sway it back the other. We also have our annual Bay Trash Hotspots campaign, which some of you may know. And I'm not sure you all have been thrilled with that. But the reason that we have done the Bay Trash Hotspots, this will be our 6th year this coming summer, is that it has been one of the most fabulous ways to get Bay Area residents involved and aware of trash, which really primes them to support these kinds of bans. When we do these hotspots, we get dozens of media articles. We have thousands of new people who come to the Save the Bay website, who take action, and these are all people then who join our community, so that when you are ready to have a vote, they're going to be some of the ones who come and make their voices heard and email and call their elected officials. So, the last thing I want to close on is that Save the Bay also has limited resources, and these are a lot of different tools that we have in our toolbox. And an example like San Jose, we actually used almost all of these tools to move the bag ban in particular forward. But I think we've worked with many of you, and we've used different kinds of tactics, and what we do is try to prioritize, but we always try to engage, and we're always available for phone calls and information. So I hope that we're able to work with you all in the future. Thank you. A couple of questions?
Local governments to pay for a lot of the trash pickup, and let's presume that picking it up is a good thing. We also know that many communities are facing not only difficult financial times, but they may fail. I mean, and some cities actually have failed as organizations because they just cannot sustain themselves. If that's the case, then their wherewithal, their ability, even if there was a desire and will to do, it would collapse as well. If there was one thing that they could retain, though, besides police and fire, what would it be?
Oh, I don't think I'm the expert to start prioritizing local city budgets.
But, I mean, if you're in favor of one thing that they could retain in this area, because there's so many financial burdens on them, do you have a suggestion in this area that you think is important for them to consider?
I think I would leave it up to the experts. We are here to advocate for the health of San Francisco Bay, and trash is a priority for our organization, but there are many things that threaten San Francisco Bay, and Save the Bay is just because we're not necessarily working on one of the other items, there are many organizations who are. So I think if it comes down to picking just one, there would have to be a discussion that is beyond just Save the Bay's interests. Questions? Great, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
The bay versus the bag, you said there was a little controversy on that as well, but it still is accessible.
Can you please hold off because we want to get the microphone because we can't hear you.
Question on the accessibility of the
Sure.
of that.
So the lady was asking if, the Bay versus the Bag movie is still available online, and it is. If you actually Google Bay versus Bag, it will come up. You can get it on YouTube. You can get it on our website as well. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.